On accueille un des lauréats des Music Move Europe Awards, c'est Fran Vasilić. Bonjour Fran.
Hello, bonjour.
Let's switch to English.
Yes, please.
As a starter, because the first time we meet, I'd like for you to describe the island you come from in Croatia, the surroundings, the landscapes.
Yeah, I come from the island of Krk in Croatia, and it's kind of funny looking back. I think right now I appreciate it way more than I did when I was living there, because once you move away, you kind of start to, whenever you come back, see all the beautiful things that were just your regular day life before. But it was very peaceful. It was very nice. There was a lot of nature. There was a lot of sea. Obviously, it's an island, so
Makes sense.
it was very nice to grow up there and kind of be separated from all the noise and all the chaos that living in the city is. And I honestly wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm very happy that I got to grow up there and kind of I think it formed my personality and my artistry into what I do today.
How so? How would you say the fact that it was peaceful and you were able to dwell and dream about your music?
I think when you're in such a surrounding that's more isolated, you kind of have more of opportunity to create and think, and there's not always something going on, so you have more time to spend with yourself and with your thoughts. So just having that and being there, I think it allowed me to just do what I do today.
When did you realize that music would have such an important place in your life?
I think it was, I don't know if there was a one singular moment. I think it was more of a gradual process. I think it kind of, I was playing the guitar since I was very, very young, and I was also writing a lot of poetry, and in school I competed in some poetry competitions and stuff like that, so it was always present in my life, writing and creating music, but I just never really combined those two. And I think when I was in lockdown, I kind of decided to give it a shot and combine writing something and then making a song out of it. And so I think somewhere along the lockdown, when I was creating my first album, I was okay, I really like how this sounds. I could maybe do more of this, potentially full time. So I think it was somewhere in 2020.
Yeah. Do you relate to those rock bands from the early 2000s, American especially? What did you find in them? What did the teenager you were find in those bands, like the Strokes, for instance, or Rex Orange County, on the other hand?
Yeah, so I think the Strokes was the first band where I was genuinely obsessed with it. It was I was listening to a lot of indie pop, indie rock music from the early 2000s before, but the Strokes was really an obsession. I'm not even kidding. It was I was listening probably only to the Strokes for a good 6 months to a year of my life, and pretty much nothing else. And I think it wasn't just the music. It was their whole energy, the way they were they just look and how they present themselves and how they hold themselves. And I think it was just everything was just so interesting and unique for me. And
is it the charisma of Casablancas as well?
I think,
and his sort of a wildness on stage.
Exactly. Yeah, that I think that's also something that I was attracted to, and it's just really, I don't know. It was something that I wasn't familiar with before, and even today, they're one of my favorite bands still. And whenever I listen to them, I feel this nostalgia for my high school years and stuff like that. It's very, I really like them still. So I don't know. I really don't know if there was one thing about them. I think it's just kind of a mix. I really like their sound. I really liked pretty much everything about them. And then it kind of moved on from there, where I discovered other indie rock bands. I listened a lot to the White Stripes. I listened to a lot of the Black Keys, and then the Black Keys were kind of more jazzy as well. So I started listening to Rex Orange County, and then the whole world of bedroom pop kind of opened, and that's where I kind of found myself.
Why did you call your first album Retrovisor? Is it a reflection on your past? Is the way of looking backwards?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a funny story, because the album name itself, it's a Croatian word for a rear view mirror. And at first when I named it that, I was I wasn't sure if that was even an English word. I thought maybe it is retrovisor, but I wasn't sure, so I Googled it, and it wasn't. But I was like, but it sounds still really cool. And
it's a French word. It's more or less a French word, rétroviseur.
Yeah, so it's the same word. And so I was like, okay, they don't have that word, but I still really like that word, so I'm just going to keep it. And I think it translated really well. I think the message is there. It's very clear, so I think I'm happy.
And so there was a retrovisor, and then there was the EP in 2022.
Yes.
And that was called The Very Last Thoughts on Earth.
Yeah.
We're all doomed.
Yeah, so it's a very depressive title.
You're sharing like reflections on us going away.
Yeah, I mean, it is a depressive title. I agree, but the way that I kind of went about it was the EP itself. It's kind of process of making a decision. As I found myself in my like early 20s, I was very like indecisive, and I couldn't really decide anything about my big life decisions, like what I want to do. Do I want to continue studying? Do I want to try to do music full time? Do I want to stay in Amsterdam? Do I want to move back to Croatia? Do I want to go somewhere else? Do I want to go to America, the US, wherever? Like there was a lot of big decisions that I needed to make, and I really couldn't. And so the anxiety and like the pressure to make those decisions felt like it was like a life or death scenario. And when you like have that pressure, it feels like, okay, these are like the very last thoughts. And like this, once I make that decision, that's like the last. So that's kind of where the title comes from. And the whole EP kind of goes through like, we have like the first song is Subject, and that's kind of where I kind of set the scene. And, you know, it was pretty much like an atmospheric song. And then the next three are kind of, they're called Might As Well, Maybe, and the one about rejection. So they're all pretty much going through like a process of being fully down for something, overthinking it, learning to say no. So that's kind of where the title comes from. But it's a pretty long answer, sorry. But
that's okay. But there's also sort of understanding that, okay, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for these big decisions, and they're just decisions, and
exactly.
we can, undo them. That's part of what you say in that EP.
Yeah, it's kind of, I try to illustrate that process of feeling all of that pressure and kind of coming to terms with, okay, yes, but everybody has like some sort of big decisions that they need to make in their life. And, even I kind of come to the realization that even making a decision and that being the wrong decision is better than like just constantly thinking about what the right decision is. Because even if you make the decision, it's the wrong one, you can still go back and like try to either fix it or change or next time do it differently. So I think that's kind of the takeaway from the EP.
You studied political science in Amsterdam, not far from here.
Yes.
Is there any part of these studies that going to take place in your music now, or you can feel in your music today?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I like that, because sometimes people are like, oh, how can you, like, that's so far apart from each other. And I don't think it is. I think art has always been political. I think they're very like intertwined even throughout history and even today. I think today especially. And I think I always say kind of at university when I was like writing essays and stuff, and that's where I was like expressing all of my frustrations with the world and everything that was happening around me. And in my songs, I was expressing everything that was frustrating for me personally and like within. So I think having those both at the same time, because when I was studying is when I started writing music as well, it helped me like very much in the sense that like I could separate those two and I could have both outlets for whenever I needed them.
And in a sense, writing songs is also a way to start from your own feelings and make it into something universal that people can relate to, and that's political in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're right.
We've had just one single for last year, so Hypotheticals. Working on the new material is taking more time because you've been touring so much?
Yes, of course. I think that's kind of... I decided last year that it was... I've had 3 years of basically just being kind of a digital artist. Very like... I was releasing music that I thought was good, but I wasn't really going anywhere with it. It was just going online and that's it. And so I decided to focus my 2023 on just like touring, and I, for the first time, had the opportunity to like really connect with people and my listeners and like put a face to the name that I saw online and stuff like that. So I think that was like really important for me because honestly, I know that like I've had a lot of success even in the years prior to 2023, but 2023 is the year where I felt the most successful because I got to, like, obviously when you see a number like 4 million people online like you and follow you and whatever, that's great. But once you see their faces and like them showing up to hear you sing and perform live, that's, at least for me, that's when it hit me, and that's when I kind of was like overblown by gratitude and stuff like that. So yeah, but I am working on the next album. That's kind of part of the question as well, and it's currently in like the final stages. So when I come back from this, there's like maybe a month more of work with my producers, and then the music videos, and then sometime in the summer I'm planning to come back with new stuff.
You mentioned your followers on TikTok, especially. You also have very, very high streaming figures in Malaysia. You're quite famous in the United States of America. And like you said, you were sort of a digital artist before that. Is it easy to, I don't know, to apprehend this whole TikTok digital thing? Like you said, there are real people actually following you, liking your music behind that, but still writing from Croatia or your small apartment in Amsterdam during the lockdown, and this is sort of unreal. I mean, how do you manage with that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, it's very weird, as you said, but it's hard to imagine. I don't, as I said, like this year was kind of the first year where I grasped it, and it was kind of became more real for me in a sense. But before that, it's kind of like you see all of this stuff happening online, but nothing really changes in your life. It's interesting because obviously there are changes, like if you get more streams, you get more money and stuff like that. So those changes do happen, but on like a day-to-day basis, it's not that different from before. So it's just like you write music and you put it out, and then if more people hear it, the number is bigger on your screen, but it doesn't, like there's no visual, like, yeah. So I think touring, even though it's like 2024 and there's like even artists now who publicly said that they don't plan on touring anymore, they just sustain themselves from streaming. For me personally, it is really important. It's where everything connects. It's, I don't know, I really think that's it for me.
You never had a moment where you sensed you could lose yourself in on social networks?
Oh, not only did I have that moment
as an artist.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about personal life. I don't care, but as an artist.
Yeah, no, definitely, for sure. And I think that even happened like multiple times where you kind of have all of these responsibilities. You're like, okay, I need to make promotion for this song, and I need to like promote this show, and I need to make videos about this and da. And then it kind of takes over, and then you're like, okay, I'm a musician, but I'm spending so much of my time just promoting stuff, which before this era of social media, like you had promoters do that, you had labels and yada yada yada. Media, of course. And so it was weird. I was like, okay, most of my time is spent doing this. And I think it's important for all artists. It's kind of what I said earlier today. I had a panel here also at the ESNS where I was talking about this, and I kind of said that it's important to like know your pace. It's important to like from time to time remember what you're actually doing, and that is music. And it's important to take a step back from social media, because obviously if you're like releasing a single, you can promote it forever. You can promote it for 2 months, you can promote it for 6 months, you can promote it for a year, especially if it's going well. Like my last song that I released last year, Hypotheticals, it was doing really, really well. And you kind of don't know when to stop, because you're always getting more views the more you post about it. And if you don't decide for yourself, okay, now it's time for me to take a step back and like make new material, you're going to be stuck in that loop forever and just on that one song. So I had to kind of make a decision, okay, if I take a step back, it's probably going to cost me like, there's going to be more people active when I come back. There's going to be like, I don't know, less engagement on my music while I'm making new stuff. But it's an important decision to make actively and like really, decide to set time aside to focus on new material, to focus on new music, to focus on touring, and then come back with that, because otherwise you're stuck in a loop.
Last question, Fran Vasilić. How do you pronounce your name?
Vasilić.
Vasilić.
Yes. It's like if you know any football players from Croatia, it's pretty much the same thing.
I don't know much about football, I'm
Me
afraid.
neither, but some people do.
There's also, when we watch your videos, when we watch your the way you dress up on stage, etc. There's also some sort of a sense of humor in your music. Why is it important for you to orient people that way and to tell people pop music can be fun and should be fun?
Yeah. I mean, I think it inherently is, especially the music that I make. It's kind of, it's eccentric, it's like very colorful, and that's how I visualize it when I'm writing it, and that's how I want it to be visualized by other people when I'm putting it out. And I think visuals and stuff like that is really important. Like for me, when I'm doing something, the visual is also takes the same weight as the music does, and I think it's kind of like I want to present it as a full package. So, I don't know, it was always something that's important to me, to keep it entertaining, to keep it colorful, to keep it interesting. I feel like it's very good for artists to like think of new ways to like present themselves, and even if it means clothes or music videos or whatever, it's just every single one of those things is an avenue for you to express your creativity. So if you don't decide to take one of those opportunities to express yourselves, then you're losing, I feel like, on a general level, because you're taking yourself out of one field, and I don't want to do that. So,
but like, to get back to the sense of humor, is it also a way of saying that, you know, it's just music, it's just entertainment, and it's great and it's my life, but I mean, there's other things in the world. It's also to take a step back from the importance of it.
Yeah, I think so too. It's kind of, I take obviously the topics that I write about seriously, but the music itself, it should be consumed in a way that's to entertain and to be fun. So it's not like, yes, the topics and the like the message underneath is very important, but the way we go about it doesn't have to be like you can dance, even though there's an important message.
Thank you so much, Fran Vasilić.
Yes, thank you.
And see you soon.
Yes.